First off, yeah, thank you so much for being here today. And for those that you are catching at the recording later, I hope that it's just as valuable as if you were in here in person and live. But as always, reach out to me if there's any questions. So first off, my name is Carrie. I am the founder and owner of Ether Wellness, which is a women's health and fitness studio down in downtown Madison, Wisconsin. And so then I'm also a women's health and fitness coach along with that. So I have a strong passion for guiding women in creating sustainable routines and supportive environments with a deeper sense of calmness and self. So especially during those life seasons of transitions and stress and hormones. And so I help women by guiding them through various modalities of movement, nutrition, lifestyle, and mindset. So we're here today to talk about stress, hormones, and women's heart health. So I do want to reiterate and stuff too, that today is not about scary numbers or dramatic statistics. It's all about understanding and awareness. So women's heart health is often reduced to exercise more, watch your cholesterol. But often what gets left out of conversation is how deeply stress and hormones influence cardiovascular health. As women, our bodies are cyclical, our hormones fluctuate, and our nervous system is responsive to emotional and environmental load. So today we're going to be taking a zoom out and look at the system as a whole and our body as a whole and how we can support it with awareness instead of being overwhelmed. So what we'll cover today is why women's heart health truly matters, how women's systems are often overlooked and dismissed, the key physiological differences between men and women, the connection between hormones and heart health, how stress and blood pressure may interact, and you can also have some takeaways for sustainable, supportive lifestyle inputs. And then we'll leave time at the end for any questions if anybody has them. So why does this matter? So heart disease is the leading cause of death in women. Yet for decades, cardiovascular research has primarily been conducted on men. This means that the classical symptoms that we've been taught to look at and were actually modeled based off of men and how they may present it. Again, but women's physiology is different. We have the hormone fluctuations that happen monthly. We experience pregnancy, postpartum shifts, and menopause. We also carry a different level of chronic stress and chronic load. So it makes sense that the prevention in the systems may look different too. One of the biggest risks for women is not about that isn't the fact that we don't have symptoms at all. They're just interpreted differently. And also often our symptoms are normalized. So extreme fatigue becomes, I just need a vacation. Shortness of breath is, I must be out of shape. Nausea becomes, oh, it's something I ate. Anxiety, I'm just stressed. So sometimes those explanations are accurate, but being a part of being a proactive approach to heart health is noticing patterns and sudden changes in the symptoms that may feel different than when you were at your baseline. So again, awareness does not mean panic. It means, hey, body, I'm listening to you. So physiologically, women's hearts are lighter on average, about 26%. This means that we pump a little bit less blood per beat, something that we call stroke volume. And trying to compensate that, our heart rate tends to run slightly higher. This is normal. This is just how women were built differently than men. But again, why do I mention this? It's not because it's a flaw. It's not because it makes us weaker. Women are not tiny men. And so this is important to note that when we layer chronic stress and hormonal shifts, that women often deal with, on top of the already uniquely cardiovascular profile, the systems that can become way more sensitive to strain. So again, that is why it's important that research can be done on women, and we can come to realize the different patterns of what symptoms might be, and so forth with that, because our cardiovascular system is in fact different than men. So estrogen is typically higher in females during their reproductive years. It plays a protective role in cardiovascular health. Estrogen helps improve the blood vessels to help them remain flexible, meaning that they can relax and expand appropriately. It supports the nitric oxide production, which improves the circulation. It influences cholesterol patterns in favorable ways, and it also helps buffer blood pressure. Before menopause, women often have a slightly lower blood pressure compared to men, again, because of that estrogen level. But during perimenopause, estrogen becomes unpredictable. Some months are higher, some months are lower, and eventually the estrogen fully declines. During this time, our fat storage can also play a role and can be redistributed in different ways that we aren't used to. So as that protective buffer, the estrogen, eventually decreases, the cardiovascular system becomes more responsive, meaning that stress, inflammation, lifestyle factors may have a stronger impact. And so after menopause, the blood pressure tends to rise more quickly, and many women also become more sensitive to sodium, meaning that salt intake can influence the blood pressure more than it did earlier on in that life. Now, again, layer stress on top of this. Chronic stress keeps the cortisol levels elevated. Elevated cortisol raises the blood pressure, increasing inflammation signaling, disrupts blood sugar regulation, and interferes with our sleep. And on top of that, poor sleep can further increase blood pressure and inflammation. So chronic stress can also shift that fat storage towards the abdominal region, which is metabolically more active and associated with the increase of cardiovascular risk. So when we combine the fluctuation and declining of estrogen, the chronic cortisol elevation, and midlife everyday stress, the cardiovascular system can be amplified. So understanding how hormones and stress interact with awareness, is it all about awareness and not fear? The regular screenings, nervous system regulation becomes more important during these transitions. So the heart does not function independently from the rest of our body, especially the nervous system. When we live in that constant go mode, that's sympathetic dominance, the body is preparing for action. The heart rate increases, blood pressure rises, blood vessels constrict, inflammation signaling increases, the blood is redirected towards muscle. In short bursts, this is adaptive and keeps us safe. But when it comes to the states of chronic, when we're always rushing, always multitasking, problem solving, caregiving, that mental carrying overload, the cardiovascular system rarely gets that recovery window. And so looking at the parasympathetic nervous system, that rest or digest state, repairs and restores us, when we activate it, the heart rate lowers, the blood pressure stabilizes, the blood vessels relax, inflammatory signals decrease, digestion improves, and the repair process increases. One measurable way that we see this through is the heart rate variability, HRV. So HRV reflects how adaptive your nervous system is and how well you can shift from that activation to recovery mode. And so higher variability generally reflects greater resilience. So when we are chronically stressed, HRV tends to decrease, meaning that symptoms become less flexible. And this is why stress regulation is not something to pass on. It is a proactive measure to your health. Slow breathing is one of the fastest ways to shift into that parasympathetic activation. Other ways are gentle movement, time outdoors, safe social connection, laughter, and intentional rest, and rest without feeling guilty. I give you permission to rest. These are all softer, and these are not softer extras, they're direct influences on the physiology of the heart. So we often hear cardio exercises supports cardiovascular health. And it certainly does. Movement absolutely supports it, especially resistance training and regular walking. So for example, like the strength training improves insulin sensitivity and vascular function. So it's suggested to at least strength train 4 times a week. But if that's not ideal, then at least doing that 2 times a week. And walking supports circulation and lowers your stress level. So it's suggested to have moderate intensity cardiovascular activity for a minimum of 30 minutes, 5 days per week, or the vigorous intensity for 20 minutes to 25 minutes, 3 days a week. So again, heart health isn't just about movement and the cardio exercises. It's sleep, so getting about 7 to 8 hours per night, nourishment. So for peri and postmenopausal women, getting at least 30 to 40 grams protein within the first 60 minutes of waking up is essential. Having nervous system regulation, so meditating or breath work, literally as little as like 30 seconds, 3 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day. You can always work your way up to a longer period. I know that is something that can be super challenging for people, and but just know that meditation breath work does not need to be a full hour. It can be super simple, which we will practice in a little bit. But it can also be awareness of your symptoms and knowing your baseline levels and regular medical screenings. So again, supporting your system, your heart health is looking at our bodies as a whole, not just one system. So coming into a reflective practice that I want to kind of guide you through. And again, this is going to reflect the nervous system regulation and kind of giving you an idea of how little time it can take to just calm you down. So I invite you to place one hand over your heart and close your eyes or gaze down. Sit comfortably. Just feel your heartbeat. And slowly inhale for 4 seconds through your nose. And exhale for 6 seconds out your mouth or your nose, whichever feels comfortable to you. Inhale for 4. And exhale for 6. Do one more round. Inhale for 4. And exhale for 6. Now come to your normal pace of breath, keeping your eyes closed, your gaze down. And notice your heartbeat. Want to ask yourself, where might you be overriding in your body? What signals are you ignoring? Where do you need to listen to your body a little bit more? Just pause and tune into your body. I want you to think about one small shift that might feel supportive right now. And let the answer be simple. Take one final deep breath in for 4 and exhale for 6. When you are ready, go ahead and slowly open your eyes and come back to the room. So again, I want to repeat, like, you are not fragile. There's nothing wrong with you. We are adaptive, and adaptation is not the same as endless capacity. Understanding stress, understanding hormones, understanding your unique physiology and your body's signals. That's empowerment. Heart health isn't just cardio. It's how you live, how you rest, and how you respond. It's how you take care of yourself each day and each season. So if you were curious on how we can stay connected, there's my contact information there, and I offer free discovery call for my coaching, and my coaching is offered online and in person. But I wanted to open up this time to say thank you again for joining me here live, or if you caught the recording, thank you so much.